I have a little bit of new information about Luminar AI from Skylum. In this case, we're going to be looking at a couple of new AI tools, or at least the screenshots of the results from those tools. One is called Body AI, and the other is called Iris AI, and that's what we're going to check out. Hi, my name is William Beem. I'm a portrait photographer in Central Florida, and I've been looking at the Luminar AI tool that's forthcoming this year. This is October 2020 when I'm releasing this. And we're expecting it somewhere in the holiday season. I believe it's going to be in December, but they've been kind of trickling out information. And I've got a few more screenshots here that I want to share for you in case you're curious about Luminar AI and want to see what kind of tools are inside. So with that, why don't we go ahead and get started? Okay, I've been part of some affiliate meetings with the Skylum folks. They've shown me a few behind the scenes demos, which unfortunately I can't share that out with you yet. But as they provide more information, I can share that. And that's essentially what this is. I've got to look at some of the before and after shots from a couple of the tools, and we'll take a look and you can kind of see what the results look like. So the first one we're going to talk about is Body AI. This one is kind of controlling the shape of the human bodies. You can go ahead and make someone a little bit slimmer. You can also plump somebody up if you want to. And why don't we just take a look at a couple of the photos. All right, so this one is a before photo, and this one is after. So you can see, I'm going to go back and forth a little bit. You can see that it just kind of trimmed down her waistline just a little bit. And it still looks natural. I'm actually really happy with the look that we've got here for trimming somebody down. If you were to do this in Photoshop, you'd probably need to go in Liquify tool and work that out, which is certainly possible with that tool, but this one just makes it so much easier just by moving a slider. And the same thing, like if you want to make someone a little bit bigger, you move the slider in the opposite direction. So let's go ahead and take a look at the next photo. This is obviously the same subject. What we're seeing as a difference here, you notice this kind of cyan kind of overlay on there. You can do that with a texture. You may not have thought of this. You can probably do this with Luminar 4, but you could also do it with Luminar AI. You can simply add a texture as an overlay. So if you've got some textures that you use in other tools, it's very easy to apply them here in Luminar AI or in Luminar 4. So let's go ahead to the next one. So notice this one is kind of a profile. And as we go to the after photo, it tells me that the AI tools are aware of the direction and shape of a person's body. In other words, it doesn't have to be straight on to see them as far as the before and after shot. It's recognizing the body in whatever configuration it is. So if you're straight on, if you're profile, or if you're turned a little bit left or right, and we'll see a few other demos after this, but that's kind of a nice thing because you're not always going to take your portrait straight on. So it's good to know that it will work if it's if your subject's angled a little bit to the camera. Let's take a look at the next one. And we can see here, this is another one that's straight on. And you can see that there's a little bit of, shape redefinition, not only on her waistline, but you can see it on her face. I think this one, since we've got a bit of an overlay on the after shot, I think there's also been a little bit of a slim face of the portrait AI tool used on this photo as well. And here we got someone who's kind of at a diagonal angle, and you can just see what it's doing to the shape of her body. And it's just kind of pulling that waist in. And again, on the after shot, you see a little bit of an overlay. It just kind of adds a little bit of dynamic action to the photo, I think. So it's really up to your taste if you want to do something like that or not, but it's a possibility that you can use. If you got like a plain shot and you just need to add a little creativity to it, that's one way to do it. The next tool we're going to look at is Iris AI. And as you would expect, this is going to be enhancing the color of the iris. So here's our before shot, and there's our after. You can see it's done a really interesting job, not only brightening up the eyes, so you can see that she was kind of in a darkness there. There's just like a slight little catch light. When I go to the after, you can definitely see some structure and contrast inside of the iris. And that's one of the things you want to do to enhance it. You want to add a little bit of that contrast. You want to bring out a little bit of a glow of the color of the iris. And it's also boosted up the eye whites here a little bit. So I think that one's coming from basically, it almost looks like black eyes here to something where you can see the color of the person's eyes. Let's go on to the next one. And this one is a little bit different now. Take a look at the color of her iris. And you can see they've changed the color of her iris. So you've got some creative possibilities here. One of the things I find interesting about this photo is there's definitely some color grading going on here, because if you notice, the color of her iris matches the scarf that she's wearing. It matches the paint on the back of the wall. But let's go back to the before. The paint is there, the scarf is there, but they've done something with her iris to kind of bring that in. So if you're looking for a color grade, you kind of want to choose maybe some analogous colors and possibly one complementary color to go in there. So the color of her eyes definitely changed on this. And that's an interesting touch with the iris tool, is that there may be a case where you want to change the color of the iris. On this one, we've got another photograph where the eyes are kind of dark. You can see on one side there's a little bit of sunlight in there. And here's the after shot. Look at the iris and you can see how the color pops out. You can see how the structure and detail is in there. They've certainly used some tools to brighten up her face because she's mostly in darkness here. But on the after shot, I think the iris looks really, really nice here. And again, if you want to change the color of an iris, there's a possibility there. But for most shots, I think you're going to enhance what the person already has. And that's what the iris tool appears to be doing here, is showing you what you can bring out naturally with just that light that's radiating out and the quality and the structure inside of the iris. I've got another shot here. And again, you can see the irises are just really not well lit. And then after, it kind of brings out that color and quality and texture and structure inside of the iris. So you can tell for this photo, if you look at the background, they've really brightened it up. I don't know if that color was there or if that's something they've added afterwards, but it's really just dramatically changed this portrait all over. And I think the iris is a big part of that. I like the way the iris plays off the fact that she's got these reddish features and the background is red. So the color grading that's inside of Luminar 4 is already outstanding. That's going to continue on into Luminar AI, and it'll give you some interesting possibilities with your portraits. And let's take a look at one more here. Again, this is a photo someone's taken, kind of in the shade without any lighting on them. And the irises once again pop out. Now, you can see the overlays on the side where they're adding like these little lens leaks and flares. It's just a creative possibility by doing an image adjustment layer and adding those things on. The image layers don't necessarily have to be something that you add on that's just going to be a texture. You can add on light leaks, you can add on overlays and really enhance your portraits that way. But again, I'm looking at her iris. There's the before again. You can almost tell there's kind of brown eyes in there, but it's so dark, it really doesn't stand out. Now that we've brightened up her face and you see the iris standing out, it gives you something to connect with your subject. And that's why I'm really happy to see Iris AI as part of Luminar AI. And that's all I have for right now. I've been doing a number of these videos, and of course, I am an affiliate. If you would like to sign up for Luminar AI, you can go to the link below. It'll be, say, williambeem.com/Luminar AI. And if there is some reason that Luminar AI isn't right for you, there's no risk involved. You can cancel if you want to after you get your software. In other words, there is a 30-day money-back guarantee that starts the day you get your software. So if for some reason you decide it's not for you, there's no risk at all. But I am really looking forward to this. I've been very happy with Luminar 4, and the tools that I'm seeing inside of Luminar AI are really going to make my post-processing fast, easy, and dynamic too, I think is a really good choice of words, because there's so many options in here. And not just if you're a portrait photographer, there are a lot of things in there with Atmosphere AI. They've got landscaping tools. So if you do multiple types of photography, or if you do portrait or just one particular genre, landscape, travel, there are a lot of tools in there for every kind of photo that you want to take. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments below. If this has been helpful to you, please go ahead, share it with a friend. I'd love it if you would go ahead and like this video. That lets YouTube know we're doing something right, and it'll share it to more people. And if you like, go ahead, subscribe, and check that little bell icon, and you'll be notified the next time I put a video out. Thanks so much. We'll see you in the next video.